and thanks for inviting me here today.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing that I do on my show, Mike, is I give people flowers. You don't see any flowers in here, and so this is a metaphorical thing, but I just want to tell you that I've heard your name on so many different occasions in such a positive light. In that, when you were a principal at Lincoln High, your name came up on many occasions as someone who was there, who was doing great things, very supportive of the students there. As I've had the opportunity to work very closely with you through the Nebraska Children and Families Foundation board, and also had the opportunity to see you as a mentor and a person who truly cares about mentoring young people. I just want to tell you that I truly appreciate all of the things that you have done for people over the course of your career. We're going to talk a lot about that today, but I just want you to know that from afar and getting a chance to then get a little bit closer and get to know you as a person and as a mentor and as a person who truly cares about the importance of service. I just want to tell you and provide you with your flowers and tell you that I appreciate you, what you do for the community, and how many people's lives you have touched over the course of your life. And certainly many people that you have no idea that you've influenced, but I'm certainly one of those people you've influenced with your service, all of the wonderful things that you do. And so just wanted to tell you that from the top of the show. So just thank you for all the time and effort you've put into so many people over the course of your life. And seeing that from afar has been impressive, and it inspires me to mentor more people and do more service and show up when I'm needed. And so just wanted to tell you that from the beginning here.
Well, thank you. I'm humbled. So thank you. Yes, I appreciate those words. It was very kind.
Yeah. So, on this show, Mike, one of the things we always start with is just this concept of where your name came from. So, can you tell us where your name came from? Who gave it to you? How did you become Mike? I mean, is it short for Michael? Tell us a little bit about your name and where your name came from, if you know the story.
Yes, my name is Michael John, and it was named by my parents. Interestingly enough, I uh, originally, for when I was very young, was called Mick, and it was kind of the time probably of Mickey Mantle, or I don't know, but Mick was kind of, and I can specifically remember my first day at kindergarten and a one-room country school in Antelope County,
Okay.
and the teacher welcomed me and said, "Hi there, what's your name?" And I was very formal, and I said, "Michael." "Michael, I like that name. Is it okay if we call you Mike?" And I said, "Sure." And so I kinda think my kindergarten teacher named me
Wow.
Mike. So I from then on, I don't know if I went home and told my parents, my teacher calls me Mike, and so, and I still have, to this day, some older cousins. When they see me, they still call me Mick.
Okay.
But
Okay.
that's a very small group of people that knew me when I was 5
Oh,
or
wow.
under,
Yes.
you know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Right.
But,
Right.
yeah, so actually, the power of education.
Yes.
My kindergarten teacher named me.
Yeah, that is very powerful. Teacher said, "Hey, this is what we're going to call you here," right?
Yeah,
So that's amazing. So started out as a Mick, went to school, became a Mike, and is a Mike to this day. And
that's right,
so
that's right.
that's really neat to hear about that. So you mentioned a little bit about Antelope County, one room schoolhouse. Tell us a little bit about your early years. Where were you born? And how did that essentially shape who you are today? Like, where were you born? Tell us about the community you were born into.
Well, my parents, my dad, was in World War II and came home and married a local girl, my mom, from uh, northeast Nebraska. They, my dad had a farm north of Neely, Brunswick, and Norfolk, about 35 miles away, was the closest hospital.
Okay.
So that's where I was born. I was the firstborn, and was born in Norfolk, and then went home and grew up on a farm, and uh, ended up having a sister a couple years younger than that, and then another brother a couple years after that, and another brother a couple years after that. So we're four of us were raised in a family
Uh huh.
that on the farm, and lived there on that farm and went to a one-room country school. It was about a mile and a half from our farmstead,
Mhm.
and there were uh, K through 8 students, and sometimes there were 6 or 7 kids in the school. Sometimes they got as big as 12 maybe,
Wow.
so
Okay.
and so you knew everybody in the school,
Yeah.
and they're like, there were 4 Wortmans in the school at different times, and there were, a couple Johnsons and a couple Kirkpatricks, and I mean,
Yeah.
those were the families that lived right around there. That's where he went to school, and uh, I yeah, I learned a lot, and it was most of the time I was the only kid in my class.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
There were a couple years where a family moved in and they had some boys, and then I had a classmate, I think in fourth, fifth, and sixth grade or something like that.
One
So
classmate.
one
Oh
classmate,
my
yeah. So then there were
goodness.
two of us, or two of
Wow.
us,
Wow.
So
You know,
so
my
I was either valedictorian or
That's
salutatorian,
right. You know,
one or the other.
right. You'd kind of switched off every year,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
Oh man, that's great. So wow, one bedroom or one room class school,
Hmm.
and one classmate for a few years. That is just, I mean, to think about, nowadays, and there's still some pretty small classes, but that's really, really small. And
No,
so were there multiple teachers in that
no,
school? Just one teacher?
one teacher.
Oh wow.
I mean, there's
Okay.
only 12 kids or
Gotcha.
8 kids.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And
So
so,
she did it all. He
oh,
did it all. She
yeah,
okay.
yeah, did it all. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And you likely remember, is it the same kindergarten teacher that named you, or
Yeah.
oh my goodness. Okay. Okay. So she was your teacher all the way
No,
through.
no, no, no,
No.
no, no,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
She was just a kindergarten teacher. Then we had somebody else. I mean, Miss Swans we had for a couple years, and then Mrs.
Okay.
Sherrick for a couple years. So
Okay.
I remember some of them, but
Some of them. Okay.
they kind
Different
of
teachers over
different
the years.
teachers. So yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So when you are thinking back on what that experience was like for you, and of course that was your only experience, you didn't know what it was like to be in another classroom where there were multiple students and bigger school and everything else. What was that experience like for you, just from an educational perspective, where you had the opportunity to learn so closely with your one classmate and then a teacher, and there was just that focused attention on you during the time of your early lessons and just education?
Well, a lot of it was very well, obviously individualized. I mean, and but it also, once you're in the school, because just visualize this, the teacher's desk, and there was a recitation desk beside, a little bench,
Yes.
and usually you went up to that when it was your turn. So you was like kindergarten reading, then first grade reading, second grade. So anyhow, by the time I was in a grade, I'd heard some of these stories and some of these things listening for a couple years already.
I
So you
see.
got, a lot of opportunity.
I see. Okay, so I hear what you're saying. So you're saying that not only were you getting your lesson, but you were also hearing the older students, comparative
Exactly.
to you, and the
Yes.
younger. So you were kind of
Yeah.
learning vicariously through the rest of the students in the school. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. And that's an interesting concept, because I think in today's educational world, of course, everyone in the classroom is likely right at the same level. They're getting the same lesson and they're hearing the same thing, and they're having to interpret it. But in that space, you were hearing a wide range of different lessons. So that's important to know. And of course, that time that you got with the teacher was probably very important, I would imagine.
Oh, yes. Mhm.
And what can you recall the rest of your life being like from that early age? I mean, you go to school, you're here with these 11, 12 other people, and then you leave and go back home. Were you helping out on the farm? Was that a part of your day-to-day life? And were your parents consistently on the farm? Did your
Mhm.
mom work and your dad kind of did the farming, or how did that all fit together?
Yeah, my mom was a typical, uh, farm wife, and
Hmm.
she was doing her things and raising kids, and, uh, dad was doing the farm work, and, we had, uh, half section of land and had corn and, uh, hay and wheat and other kinds of things, and cattle and hogs,
Hmm.
And as I got older, I was more involved in doing some of the kinds of things, helping uh, feed animals and,
Mhm.
do different kinds of things. My dad started selling, or there was a guy who was selling feed to him for our livestock.
Mhm.
And he was a good friend of my dad's, and dad bought that. Then eventually that guy got a promotion.
Mhm.
And so he's asked my dad if he'd be interested in having his territory to sell.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, my dad had grown up there and everybody knew my dad in the whole area. So he was a perfect person to go around to the farmers because farmers can be somewhat hard to sell. If
Uh-huh.
a stranger coming in to their
Yes.
farmyard and saying, would like to sell you with somebody that grew up with them. So
Yeah.
he did. So my dad did that for a couple of years. Eventually, then he got promoted to another, and that's when we left the farm. When
Okay.
I was like 12,
Okay.
my dad took a position as a division manager. He was no longer farming, and so then moved to Minden,
Minden. Okay.
and
Okay.
that's where. And Minden was so big that they couldn't get. I was in. It was like a month into the school year of my seventh grade year. There were so many seventh graders they couldn't put them all in one room. There were 2 rooms of 7th graders. I mean, and I had 2 7th graders,
Right.
me and another guy
It
in
was
my class. So to have 2 full rooms of 7th grade, it just kinda blew my mind,
Right,
you
right.
know?
Yeah, yeah. So you remember that pretty vividly, I'm sure, moving from your farmstead to Minden and just having to get to know all these new people. You
Oh,
were the new
yes.
kid, right?
Yes, I was the new kid, the
Yeah.
farm kid, the
Yeah.
kid that, and I had no idea how I was going to fit in academically. I mean, these were city kids. I mean, the city, Minden,
Right.
that I figured they would be, well, come to find out what we learned on the farm school, the one room school, we knew that pretty well and
Yeah.
we fit in just fine,
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
yeah.
So, but I'm sure that was a pretty significant transition in your
Oh,
life.
yes.
Just
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
much so. Yes.
Yeah. What I've recognized from speaking to people over the shows that I've done so far is that these transitions are really transformational for people, and there's just a shift in paradigm. There's a shift in worldview. You start to, some of the things that you believed were true, you find out are not, and some of the things that you thought were not true are, and you just have to look within yourself, and you have to sometimes adapt, of course, and other times, people have not adapted as well, but they figure it out. And so when you moved to Minden, how would you say your world expanded? You're 12 years old, likely going into maybe like 6th grade or something,
7th grade.
7th grade.
Mhm.
So how did your world expand when you moved to Minden?
Well, you're making me think about some things I hadn't thought about in a while, but for one part, um, where we were living before, my dad was from a very large family.
Hmm.
There were 10. Excuse me. And so much of our time was spent with cousins.
Hmm. So you spent a lot of time with cousins. There was just a lot of family around, and you knew all the rest of the families too, it sounds
Yeah.
like. Yeah.
Aunts, uncles, cousins. That was a lot of our time. Excuse me.
No, you're all right. So spent a lot of time with family, and so when you moved to Minden, how far was that from where you grew up on the farm, and were there still any families that you knew in that area?
No, not really. That was a couple hours away.
Oh, okay, okay. So it was actually far enough away that you were just totally away from all the people you knew
Right.
and where you grew up.
Right.
So yeah, so that must have been very different than to be in a brand new space, and then this is kind of your first time being around all these other people. And educationally, it sounds like you made a transition too. So tell us about your years in Minden, and how long did you stay there? Was that where you stayed until you graduated from high school?
Yes.
Okay.
Um, my family lived in Minden for 6 years during my junior high and high school years, and it was a formative time.
That's excellent.
in my life in so many ways. Yes, just meeting a whole new group of people that I didn't know any of them
Mhm.
before then, getting involved in uh, school activities.
Mhm.
Eventually went out for basketball and football and track and did those kinds of things. Got involved in scouts
Okay.
and church kinds of things. And when I was in eighth grade, there's kind of like one main grocery store in town. And one day I was shopping with my mom. We just went to the grocery store, and the manager's wife, who kind of ran the check stand, said to my mom, "Do you think your son would be interested in working here on Saturdays to carry out groceries?" And kind of looked at me, and I said, I don't know, sure. Well, I did that then for the rest of junior high and high school. Through
Oh,
high school,
wow.
every Saturday I was working at the grocery store, checking out,
Yeah,
so that was kind of a life changing kind of thing too, just
absolutely.
having, interacting with the public. And after a while, you knew all the customers. And so,
And so you have an opportunity to start working and actually making some money and
I still remember the first day I worked 8 hours. And as I walked out the door, the manager handed me $6 in cash. So,
$6 for 8 hours.
well, it was 75 cents an hour.
Gotcha.
That
Okay.
wasn't too bad.
That wasn't too bad back then.
That
Okay.
back in
Okay.
1962 or whatever it was, that was
Oh,
not bad
wow.
for an eighth grader.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. 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 All right.
So,
So, wow. Wow. So getting paid,
yeah,
as you walk out the door, that's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing, that memory. And, it sounds like you really started to learn to interact with people there too. Because again,
yes,
you're having to, in a professional space, interact with people. They're asking you questions, and you are really having to learn the importance of customer service from a very early
oh,
age.
exactly. Yeah, I remember the manager or the owner uh, would comment to me once in a while that there were some customers. I remember one lady in particular. She was pretty particular. She wanted her groceries packed just a certain way and all that. So
Yeah.
it was fun just to try to outguess her on what she was going to ask. I'd already taken care of that before she asked,
Oh,
because
wow.
I knew what she would ask.
Yes.
So it was kind of that mind game you could play with. How do you please a customer kind of
Yes,
thing? So
yes. That's great. That's great. Strangely enough, my first job was being a bagger at a grocery store. And so, I do remember those customers who would micromanage the bagging,
mhm.
right?
Oh,
And just
exactly.
there's like, listen, don't put this in with that. I want my eggs on top, like all these different things.
Yes.
And the extent to which you could get that right and just, make them happy. In my case, because I was working at the commissary on the Offutt Air Force Base, you might get a tip, like a couple
Hmm.
bucks or something.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, so that early job, the interaction with people, and just like really growing up in Minden had a pretty significant impact on you. It sounds like just
Yeah.
getting to know people there, coming into your own in middle school and high school, playing sports and everything else. Tell us a little bit more about what was going on at home with you while you were experiencing this shift in being in a new community and growing up in Minden and everything else. So your dad, he was still working for the feed company, selling that in probably had a larger territory, it sounds like.
Right. Well, and also he was a manager of about 6 other sales reps.
I see.
So
Okay.
he would travel around other areas
Mhm.
within driving distance of Minden and meet with those folks. So
I see. So his job had expanded, and what was kind of like the family life like for you with your siblings and being the oldest and venturing out in sports and scouting and school sports and all those things. What
mhm.
was that like for you?
Well, it was yeah, I got along well with my siblings. It was kind of like I was the oldest, and then my sister, and then there were my two little brothers, and they were kind of a unit.
Okay.
They shared a room together and all that.
Yeah.
And my sister, kind of bossed us all around,
Yeah.
being the only girl, but no, a lot of my time was involved in uh, school kinds of things in and out of the school day. I mean, whether it was practice and events and those kinds of things. And during this time, um, I began to realize that there were some teachers and coaches that were having an impact on me.
Mhm.
That one of them was our band director, and I had never thought about being in a band, but sometime during my 8th grade year, um, one of the I think maybe it was the principal, the middle school principal, or maybe the band, I don't came to me and said, "We think you ought to be in band." And I said, "Okay." So they kinda helped me have some free time during the day to go practice a little bit to see if and I started playing the French horn, and I played that all the way through high school then, but it kinda put me with a little different group of kids that
Absolutely.
I would not have met, you know?
Yes.
The and in a small school, all the kids are overlapping a lot. It's not like they're totally but still, when you're with the band kids, that's a little bit different than being with the football team,
Absolutely. And
and
we'll talk more when we come back from this break. So you're listening to The Law of Lift with Dr. Lawrence Chatters. I have Mike Wortman in here, and we're just talking about the early years. We'll be right back after this.
After a long, hot summer, are you ready for fall? What about your home? Is your heating system ready for cooler temperatures ahead? Call Bryant for your fall heating check. No matter what brand of equipment you own, Bryant's trained technicians will thoroughly clean and inspect your furnace or heat pump to make sure you stay warm, safe, and comfortable. Call today to schedule your home heating check. 467-1111. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. 467-1111. Bryant, whatever it takes.
Tired of asking what's for dinner? Nourished for Life has got you covered. At Nourished, they're a local meal prep company that delivers fresh, chef-crafted, healthy meals straight to your door. Made from wholesome ingredients and ready when you are. No shopping, no chopping. Just heat, eat, and enjoy every night of the week. Fuel your busy days with balanced meals that are designed to keep you satisfied and energized. Visit nourishedforlife.co to purchase meals and taste the convenience of home-cooked comfort without the hassle. It's game on at Elway Power Sports of Lincoln, Nebraska's premier power sports dealership. Get geared up for savings like you've never seen before during Elway Days. Their biggest sale of the year runs October 14th through the 18th when every red tag machine is priced at invoice plus $300. That's it. No freight, no setup, no extra fees. Don't miss out on these epic savings. Elway Power Sports of Lincoln has you covered all under one roof with a large selection of side-by-sides, ATVs, motorcycles, and personal watercraft at the 27th and I-80 location.
Imagine hitting rewind on your life 10, even 20 years. With testosterone therapy from Limitless Male, you can turn back the aging clock and get your edge, energy, and confidence back. If you've lost your drive, sleep deprived, muscle loss, belly fat, irritable, you're not the guy you once were. Get your T levels checked at Limitless Male. More and more men are realizing hormone replacement can turn back the clock. Schedule your free consult at limitlessmale.com.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. Did you know there's a place kids can seek out help when they're away from home and something goes wrong? They find themselves in a difficult spot or even a dangerous situation. Maybe another child is bullying them or a stranger is following them. Perhaps on a date and things just go bad. In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States. The People Seeding Mission is sponsoring this program in our community and has set up a number of businesses, fire stations, schools, and nonprofits around the city to become safe locations where kids can seek out help. They just need to look for the big yellow sign that says Safe Place on it. Then go inside and ask for help. We will be quickly connected to them and ensure they make it back home or to whatever resources are needed. If you'd like to find out more about Safe Place and ways in which you can get involved, just go to pcmlincoln.org. Remember, when we all do a little, we change a lot.
Serve Nebraska believes that volunteers are part of what makes Nebraska great. Each year, the Step Forward Awards honors volunteers from across the state who serve their communities in outstanding ways. We hope you'll join us this year at the Step Forward Awards luncheon on October 27th in Omaha. Help us thank volunteers with a celebration to remember. To register, visit serve.nebraska.gov and click Register Now. We hope to see you there. Paid for by Serve Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
You never think cancer will happen to you. I smoked for over 40 years. My doctor recommended that I get annual lung cancer screening. They were able to catch my cancer at stage 1. It's never too late to quit. Even if you're still smoking, you need to ask your doctor about annual lung cancer screening. Just 30 minutes a year could save your life.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Husker fans know when you work together, great things happen. At Cornhusker Bank, they're more than your financial partner. With 5 locations in Lincoln and 1 in Omaha, they're your neighbors, your teammates, and your biggest fans. Whether you're saving for your first home, planning your future, or growing your business, they're right here in Nebraska to help you move forward together. Visit cornhusker.bank to learn more. Cornhusker Bank, member FDIC. Doing life together.
Deciding on a college with your high school senior can be a little overwhelming for parents. But applying for money to pay for it is simple. FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, is now easier than ever with fewer questions and faster fill-out times. If you have a high school senior, now is the time to apply for thousands of dollars for classes, books, and housing. Get started, Nebraska, at dothefafsa.org. Sponsored by Education Quest Foundation. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Now back to the Law of Lift with Dr. Lawrence Chatters on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
That's right, Lincoln, Nebraska. We are back. You're listening to the Law of Lift with Dr. Lawrence Chatters, and I am just totally enjoying hearing Mike's story today. I'm here with Mike Wortman, former principal at Lincoln High for many years. So some of you may know your former principal is in here on the radio today, just telling his story. And so far, I'm just going to give a quick recap as we get back into this, but talked about growing up in northeastern Nebraska. Norfolk was the closest hospital, and that's where he was born and raised around that area near Neely, and just grew up on a farm. And, in 7th grade, had the opportunity to make the big move to the booming city of Minden, which not sure Minden's called a booming city very often, but just think about this for my listeners. So he was growing up in a country school where there was one classroom, about 12 to 13 students. It would fluctuate sometimes, but he was one of 2 7th graders. And then he went to a school where things just expanded and there were 2 full classes of 7th graders. So we don't necessarily think from that perspective situation where it's like, gosh, your world could change. And it might not seem like that's that big to some people who might have gone to a middle school where there were hundreds of students, but for a kid coming from a country school, that was a big change. And so, Mike's talked about just being impressionable when he was young and having some opportunities come his way, like working at the local grocery store, where he started working in middle school and worked there all the way through high school and got the chance to interact with people from the community and learn about the importance of work and serving people and service and customer service. And he was just starting to kind of talk a little bit about some of the people who influenced him in his high school days. And he was talking about band. And so we'll start back there. So Mike, tell us about what you played in band and about how some of those people at your school, your high school, really started to influence you as a young person.
Sure. Yeah. During 8th grade, I started from scratch, literally from scratch, playing the French horn. Partly because I think they needed one in the band, and there's 1 or 2 others. And so that's why I was selected to play that instrument. And it allowed me to spend time in a whole different set of activities with a whole separate group of people that I didn't have before. And the band director was a very influential person in my life, partly because of the time with that, but also a couple other roles he had. He also was the scoutmaster. And so about that same time, I started in Scouts.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a few other guys that were 7th grade, 8th grade that I'd met that were in scouts, and they all kind of been in scouts for a while before that. But I just moved in 7th grade, so I didn't have an opportunity. So, but 7th, 8th, so I was involved in scouts and then explorers all the way through high school. And Bill Larson, the band director, was that person, and got me involved and able to do some things and go to camps and end up going to a national jamboree in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania in 1964. And it was, kind of a big deal to be with some like 50,000 other scouts from all over the world.
Yeah.
And so then another role he had, he was also student council sponsor. And so I was involved in student council my senior year, and he was involved in that. So he was the kind of person that I could see that, he has an influence on kids a whole lot more than just the ability to play an instrument.
Yes, absolutely.
He's developing things. Another person that I met virtually the first day of school was the PE teacher, Mr. Armstrong. And I remember, because I was about a month late into the school year, but he had to get me a basket and assign me a basket in the PE room. I remember that. And, and told me what I needed to have to bring to gym class the next day. Well, it turns out this Mr. Armstrong was also my PE teacher then, 7th and 8th grade. And 9th grade, he taught a science class, and I was in that class. In 10th grade, he taught a biology class, and I was in that class. And then he also was one of the assistant football coaches, and he worked with the ends, and that's what I played. And so he was kind of my position coach for sophomore, junior, senior year. And then he also was the head basketball coach, and I was on that team junior, senior year. So he was a big influence in my life. And the impact he had on that school and all the things was pretty amazing. Well, I don't want to get ahead of the story here, but he ended up being principal in Grand Island High School.
Okay.
Eventually. And I had kept in touch with him after I graduated, and he ended up being a basketball coach at Westside for a while. So I went to some of his games while I was in college. And then I was principal in Hutchinson, Kansas. He was principal in Grand Island. And so we connected, and I visited with him one summer, and he shared with me his student handbook that he was working on. And the next year, the Hutchinson, Kansas student handbook looked a lot like Grand Island handbook from the year before.
Right.
And then, interestingly enough, a few years later, I ended up in Lincoln, Nebraska, and he's the principal at East High at that time. So
wow.
He was a mentor from 7th grade on, an influence in my life. So, yeah.
That's amazing. And just to hear you talk about all the things that these different teachers were doing in that small community. And I know for our listeners that are from small communities, you can truly relate as well to some of these people who had so many different hats that they wore in the community, but fortunately they were just good people who cared about young people. And they brought that influence, that mentorship, and that support to all the different areas that they were active in. It was great to hear about the scoutmaster who also happened to be the band teacher, who also happened to be the sponsor for student council. I mean, and just wants to, of course, pull you into as many things as possible. And then Mr. Armstrong, who had a very significant influence on your life. And, it sounds like, when would you say that, you started to think about, gosh, these are some really influential adults in my life, and they're teachers, right? Because again, they were teachers, and first and foremost, they were providing education. But when did you start to think about this possibility of you going into teaching? And tell us a little bit about you graduating from Minden High, and then where did you go off to college?
Well, nobody in my family had ever gone to college before.
Oh, I see.
I mean, my dad went off to the war, and he never had a high school diploma. My mama graduated from high school, but there was no aunts or uncles or anybody that had ever gone to college. So when I was in 8th, ninth grade, something like that. In school, they started talking about, what you can do after high school and some of these things. And I remember some of my classmates talking about going to college, and they said, "So where are you going, Mike?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I don't know if I need to go to college, do I?" And they just looked at me and said, "Yes, Mike, you got to go to college." I said, "I do?" I said, yeah, you got to go to college. I said, "Oh, okay." So I started thinking about it, and I thought, and to be honest, the people that I had just shared with you, and also another one was our history teacher and football coach, moved in my junior year, Larry Roth, and he was a big influence on me also. And he ended up my junior, senior year, and then he ended up opening up an a middle school in Millard as a junior high principal years later.
Mhm.
And I still keep in touch with him. And so anyhow, you're right. I started to see these people and thought, I think I could be a teacher. I think, this seems like a worthy profession. And I liked high school.
Yeah.
High school was fun.
Mhm.
I liked the people I was with. I liked my classmates. I liked my teachers.
Yeah.
And I could see myself continuing in that world. So I think that was kind of well, then I had to stop and think a little bit about, so what would I teach?
Right.
Because I kind of liked everything, but math was really what I was probably easiest for me and good at. And
Mhm.
I liked, so I decided, okay, but I also wanted to coach because I was so impacted by coaches in my life. So I wanted to coach also. So, yeah. So I went to the University of Nebraska, and Minden is very close to what now is UNK, Kearney Teachers College, I think it was called at the time.
Mhm.
And a lot of Minden kids went to Kearney,
I see. Okay.
but they were home on Friday nights for our football games and that. And I just thought, if I go to college, I don't want to come back to nothing wrong with Minden, but I want there to be life in college, that I'm not coming back here on Friday nights and going to high school football games like I've done for the last 5 years.
Right. Right.
So, and a number of people in my class were going to the university, and so there's some orientation thing our senior year I went to, and decided, I was going to go to the University of Nebraska. So,
Wow. So you leave the community of Minden and you come to Lincoln. What year was that you graduated high school?
1966.
1966. So you come to Lincoln and you start your journey here. Again, another transition, another big shift as far as moving from Minden to the big city of Lincoln, right?
Oh, yeah.
And
Whoa.
right. So what was that like for you, Mike, to leave this very small, tight-knit community that you knew all the people, you knew, really what your role was in that community, your family, you had your family there, you're your first in your family going off to college. What was that transition like for you to go off to college?
Well, it was definitely a change. One of the things that probably had an impact on me and helped with the transition a lot was there was a kid that was a year older than I was from Minden,
Mhm.
and he was we weren't like best friends, but we did a lot of stuff together. We were involved in scouts, we were involved in student council, we were involved in band, we were involved in athletics, and again in Minden, a lot of people were involved in the same kinds of things. But anyhow, he came home at Thanksgiving time of his freshman year in college.
Okay.
So I was a senior in high school, and we met up, and Minden's kind of built on a square. And so one of the things, he sought me out, and we went out and we just kind of rode around town, which you kind of ride around the square is kind of what you end up doing, driving around.
Yes.
Not like Lincoln, you drive up and down O Street.
Right.
You'd ride around the square. Anyhow, while we're riding around the square, he asked me, he said, "So you going to the university?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "What do you know about fraternities?" I said, "Nothing." I said, what do I need to know about fraternities?" Well, he shared with me. He said, "Well, I joined one, and you might want to think about that." I said, "Oh, okay. So tell me a little bit about it." So he told me a little bit about it, and I ended up coming down in like February or March state basketball tournament and spent some time with. I got thinking, this is kind of good. I mean,
Yeah.
there's these thousands and thousands of people that are here. If there's a group of maybe 100 that you kind of live together in a house
Yeah.
and you get to know them better, that provides you kind of a. So that was helped me a lot in terms of, and again, I knew nobody
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
my pledge class of 41
I see. Right.
when I started, but that it was better to get to know 41
Right.
than it was to get to know 5,000 freshmen or whoever there was at the
That's
university
right.
that year.
Yes,
So
yes.
that's a big impact on me.
Wow, that's amazing to hear because how serendipitous was that this guy who was a year ahead of you came back and actually, reached out to you and talked to you about a fraternity. And I know that's a major part of your life still to this day. And, a little bit of foreshadowing here for folks listening, but these are just things that, when you hear about the beginning of it, that it just happened to be this car ride around the square in Minden that this guy mentions this group of young men that he's become a part of that means something to him. And you kind of thought about that and you thought, well, gosh, it's almost like having my own small town in a big university, right?
Right.
It's this group of guys that, we have aligned principles and values potentially. And, maybe weren't thinking that deeply. You were just like, at least I get to know these 41 guys. Right. So,
Right.
but that's amazing. So you come to Lincoln in 66 and you start your academic career here. And at that time, did you know that you were going to major in education when you started?
Yeah.
Is that what you started out
Oh,
in?
yeah.
Okay.
I started off math major and I was taking math classes and education classes, some of the pre-education classes, the beginning. And I also was taking almost every semester, I took a class in how to coach
Okay.
something.
Okay.
I mean, and sometimes it was a generic course, but also it was how to coach wrestling, how to coach. And I just learned a lot about other courses that, other sports that I'd never played before.
Yes.
But it's sort of just from the coaching standpoint, it was kind of cool.
Right.
And I got to meet some university staff through that. And it was
Excellent.
kind of cool.
That's great. That's great. So we're just hearing about Mike's journey, and again, we'll keep hearing more from him when we come back. So far, it's just been very interesting to hear about his transitions over the course of his life and the serendipitous nature and how much of a role people played, leaders in his life, mentors in his life, and so it's been great to hear so far. We'll hear more when we come back. You're listening to the Law of Lift on 93.7 The Ticket. We'll be right back after.
After a long, hot summer, are you ready for fall? What about your home? Is your heating system ready for cooler temperatures ahead? Call Bryant for your fall heating check. No matter what brand of equipment you own, Bryant's trained technicians will thoroughly clean and inspect your furnace or heat pump to make sure you stay warm, safe, and comfortable. Call today to schedule your home heating check. 467-1111. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. 467-1111. Bryant, whatever it takes.
Tired of asking what's for dinner? Nourished for Life has got you covered. At Nourished, they're a local meal prep company that delivers fresh, chef-crafted, healthy meals straight to your door. Made from wholesome ingredients and ready when you are. No shopping, no chopping. Just heat, eat, and enjoy every night of the week. Fuel your busy days with balanced meals that are designed to keep you satisfied and energized. Visit nourishedforlife.co to purchase meals and taste the convenience of home-cooked comfort without the hassle. It's game on at Elway Power Sports of Lincoln, Nebraska's premier power sports dealership. Get geared up for savings like you've never seen before during Elway Days. Their biggest sale of the year runs October 14th through the 18th when every red tag machine is priced at invoice plus $300. That's it. No freight, no setup, no extra fees. Don't miss out on these epic savings. Elway Power Sports of Lincoln has you covered all under one roof with a large selection of side-by-sides, ATVs, motorcycles, and personal watercraft at the 27th and I-80 location.
Imagine hitting rewind on your life 10, even 20 years. With testosterone therapy from Limitless Male, you can turn back the aging clock and get your edge, energy, and confidence back. If you've lost your drive, sleep deprived, muscle loss, belly fat, irritable, you're not the guy you once were. Get your T levels checked at Limitless Male. More and more men are realizing hormone replacement can turn back the clock. Schedule your free consult at limitlessmale.com.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. Did you know there's a place kids can seek out help when they're away from home and something goes wrong? They find themselves in a difficult spot or even a dangerous situation. Maybe another child is bullying them or a stranger is following them. Perhaps on a date and things just go bad. In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States. The People City Mission is sponsoring this program in our community and has set up a number of businesses, fire stations, schools, and nonprofits around the city to become safe locations where kids can seek out help. They just need to look for the big yellow sign that says Safe Place on it. Then go inside and ask for help. We will be quickly connected to them and ensure they make it back home or to whatever resources are needed. If you'd like to find out more about Safe Place and ways in which you can get involved, just go to pcmlincoln.org. Remember, when we all do a little, we change a lot.
Serve Nebraska believes that volunteers are part of what makes Nebraska great. Each year, the Step Forward Awards honors volunteers from across the state who serve their communities in outstanding ways. We hope you'll join us this year at the Step Forward Awards luncheon on October 27th in Omaha. Help us thank volunteers with a celebration to remember. To register, visit serve.nebraska.gov and click Register Now. We hope to see you there. Paid for by Serve Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
You never think cancer will happen to you. I smoked for over 40 years. My doctor recommended that I get annual lung cancer screening. They were able to catch my cancer at stage 1. It's never too late to quit. Even if you're still smoking, you need to ask your doctor about annual lung cancer screening. Just 30 minutes a year could save your life.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Husker fans know when you work together, great things happen. At Cornhusker Bank, they're more than your financial partner. With 5 locations in Lincoln and 1 in Omaha, they're your neighbors, your teammates, and your biggest fans. Whether you're saving for your first home, planning your future, or growing your business, they're right here in Nebraska to help you move forward together. Visit cornhusker.bank to learn more. Cornhusker Bank, member FDIC. Doing life together.
Deciding on a college with your high school senior can be a little overwhelming for parents. But applying for money to pay for it is simple. FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, is now easier than ever with fewer questions and faster fill-out times. If you have a high school senior, now is the time to apply for thousands of dollars for classes, books, and housing. Get started, Nebraska, at dothefafsa.org. Sponsored by Education Quest Foundation. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Now back to the Law of Lift with Dr. Lawrence Chatters on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We're back, Lincoln, Nebraska. I have Mike Wortman in the studio with me today, former longtime principal at Lincoln High, longtime coach and mentor to so many people over the course of his career. And he's telling us about how he became who he is. And right now it's 1966. The young man from Minden has come to Lincoln, Nebraska, started off college, has joined a fraternity that would influence the rest of his life in so many different ways. We're talking about that right now. And so, Mike, tell us a little bit more about that fraternity and then also your journey through college and some of the things you did during college that really had an impact on you.
Sure. Yes, as I said, one of my high school friends from a year older than I was, Dave Peaster, stopped me and asked me, this is during Thanksgiving of his freshman year in college, what I knew about fraternities. I said nothing. And he said, well, I joined one called Beta, and you might want to think about that. And I did. And as I've said, that changed the options available to me. Just that at the time I had no idea what that looked like, how many different kinds of things, but just the range of people that I met, people that I got to know, opportunities I had. And one of them was partway through my freshman year, one of my guys in my pledge class, Bob Thacker, he was a Northeast kid. He was going to these meetings on Wednesday nights, and I think it was Wednesday night. I can't remember for sure. But anyhow, so one time I just asked, "Wow, where do you always go on Wednesday night?" And he said, "Oh, it's this thing called Project. It's uh, a mentoring thing. Why don't you come along with me sometime?" I said, "Okay," and I did. And before I know it, I was a mentor for NHRI and Teenage Project, and uh, it was a whole different kind of experience that I'd had before. And again, there's a whole nother group of people on campus and in the community that I got to meet through that. That was pretty amazing. Um, uh, and eventually through that, I ended up, because my wife was also involved in NHRI, and my senior year, we met each other, and through that, and now we've been married for 54 years. So it's
Oh
kind
my
of like, how,
54 years?
yes.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Wow.
So
That's amazing.
it's all about relationships,
Yes.
NHRI. So
Yes, that's amazing. So participating in NHRI back then and your fraternity, those sounded like the two major things that you were doing while you were in college. You're also a math major and
Right.
also taking lots of courses in coaching because you wanted to be a coach. You wanted to
Right.
be someone who could coach people through athletics and be a teacher. So what year did you graduate from college and what was your first job after college?
Well, first I want to go back just a little bit.
Okay.
I was in NHRI in Teenage Project, and then my junior year, NHRI was starting a new project called HEP, High School Equivalency Program. And it was a Department of Labor program that was funded, and it was to work with kids who were high school dropouts from migrant families
Okay.
all over the Midwest.
Uh-huh.
And they lived here on campus, and we helped them get their GED and then place them on the job.
Oh, wow.
Well, they came to some of the different projects and said, "Would any of you be interested in being a mentor? We know you're already a mentor for Teenage Project. Would you like to be a mentor?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" So I started mentoring, and a number of us, most all of us did.
Mhm.
And again, that was kind of a life-changing thing for me, being involved with HEP. And there's NHRI, but then HEP was a separate piece of that.
I see. Okay.
And it was different than the other programs in that the other programs, you were tied to a person who was a K-12 student in Lincoln Public Schools.
Mhm.
This was somebody who was not at home. I mean, they were living in the dorms. They were from McAllen, Texas, or Phoenix, or from migrant families, and
Mhm.
most of them were uh, English was not their first language. Most of them were Spanish speaking, and all that. And I took one of my students home with me at Thanksgiving
Uh-huh.
and met with my family. And I mean, it was life changing in ways for my family. I mean, my
Yes.
little brothers met, and my mom fell in love with this kid, and he, so,
Yeah.
and it was, to be honest, it was kind of the first time in my life where I saw racism in person
Mhm.
because of the way these people were treated, some cases in the dorms and in restaurants and in bowling alleys and
Oh, wow.
things, when I would be with them, and because we did activities and things,
Mhm.
and I'd realize, wait, they're making fun of these kids that are speaking Spanish.
Mhm.
And that was not anything in my growing up in Antelope County
Right.
or in Minden, the diversity that I had not experienced that. This was a different aha moment for me that,
Mhm.
wait a minute, there are things some people go through, and I'm privileged that I don't deal with that. And I don't know, I have to be smarter or more observant, or to be able to help do some more for more people. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And so you were for the first time seeing these things up close and personal, and
Yes.
these were young people that you were working closely with, that you
Yes.
cared about, who were
Yes.
having these experiences.
Yes.
Wow.
So it was, yeah, that was, yeah. And I mean, it wasn't just Hispanic. I mean, we also had some African American kids that were doing farm labor in Arkansas that they were here. And yeah, it was, but I realized that, they had some different life experiences than I did. And so anyhow, I went through my senior year with also mentoring a number of these students also.
Mhm.
And then, I graduated. And anyhow, virtually the day I graduated from high school in Minden, my parents moved to Lexington, Nebraska.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
And my dad had been working on building a motel in Lexington my senior year in high school.
Mhm.
And so they moved there. So my siblings graduated, attended school in Lexington. So when I went home for Thanksgiving and Christmas and all that, I went to Lexington.
I see.
I
Not to your hometown anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
I would still go to Minden from time to time to meet some of my friends, but
Okay.
basically when I was doing family stuff, I was in Lexington. Well, my youngest brother and my sister both graduated from St. Anne's High School, a little Catholic school in Lexington. So I would go to games, and my brother Paul was a pretty good basketball player, and he was like 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade. I would go home and watch and cheer and all that kind of stuff. Well, I kind of got to know some of the people at St. Anne's, Well, I remember one day, my senior year in college, I get a phone call from the priest in Lexington. He says, "Hey, Mike, this is Father from Lexington. And I just, I understand you're going to graduate with a math major, and we need a math teacher at St. Anne's." And I said, "Oh, well, thanks for thinking of me. No, that's nice." That wasn't on my radar, was to go to my hometown where my parents are to start my first job as a teacher.
That's awesome. And we'll hear more about that. All these calls and these serendipitous things that have happened over the course of Mike's life, right when we get back on The Law of Lift with Dr. Lawrence Chatters at the top of next hour.
Nebraska farmers, harvest is here and every gallon counts. That's why Sapp Brothers Petroleum launched the Go Big Red Fuel Giveaway. When you contract your fuel with Sapp Brothers, enter to win $1,000 in fuel credits. As Husker Country knows, the only thing stronger than the roar at Memorial Stadium is the drive of a farmer putting food on the table. Fuel your farm with Sapp Brothers Petroleum and enter to win $1,000 in fuel credits. Visit sapbros.net today. Sapp Brothers Petroleum, fueling the heartland. Go Big Red.
If the power is out, traffic lights might be too. If you come across a dark intersection, treat it like a four-way stop. See more tips at les.com/safety.
This is former Husker and NFL linebacker Jay Foreman. For years, I've suffered from degenerative problems in both of my ankles, but thanks to a thorough and thought-out plan provided by Advanced Medical Imaging, I was able to get my life back with the least amount of pain as possible. While working through multiple options, the team of physicians at Advanced Medical Imaging were there to answer any questions I had. If you're experiencing any pain at all and want to get your life back, go to amimaging.com or give them a call at 402-484-6677. Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard.
This is Bill Mitchner, Executive Director of Lincoln Lighthouse. Did you know Lighthouse provides multiple programs for students such as one-on-one tutoring and mentoring, as well as pro-social skill exercises, while providing them a nourishing meal and a safe space during all months of the year, even during school breaks? Learn more or contribute to Lighthouse at lincolnlighthouse.org today.
This fall, Baumgars has everything you need to get your farm ready for the season. Stock up on livestock feed, deer corn, and pine shavings to keep your animals fed and your farm running smoothly. Need tools for your fall projects? Grab DeWalt power tools and grass seed to keep your fields in top shape before winter. From your barn to your backyard, Baumgars has you covered. Get ready for the season with everything you need to finish those fall fix-ups. Baumgars, field, farm, and fall fix-ups.
Are you looking to upgrade your equipment and keep cash in your pocket? Through October at Landmark Implement, get up to a 24-month waiver on select John Deere tractors and combines, or lock in a 2.9% fixed rate for 36 months, followed by a qualified standard rate for another 36 months. Whether you're thinking of this year's harvest or planning ahead, we've got a solution that works for your bottom line. Visit your local Landmark Implement for more details, or check us out at landmarkimp.com and experience the Landmark difference.
Schaefer's is celebrating its 79th anniversary with special rebates, financing, savings, and free delivery store-wide.
Update your home with innovative Samsung appliances and save up to an additional $900 with rebates. Samsung Innovation saves you energy and time with easy-to-connect appliance technology. Plus, during Schaefer's anniversary, get free delivery on your appliance purchase.
So hurry in during Schaefer's 79th anniversary event, going on now.
This is your year, where your team takes it all the way. Win way more than bragging rights at Warhorse Casino, where your love of the game could put $1 million in your pocket. The Pro Football Frenzy is free to play with prizes all season long. Weekly cash prizes up to $1,000 cash, season-long leaderboards, and a chance to win $1 million. Only at Warhorse Casino. Wagers may only be placed on Nebraska-based teams when played outside the state of Nebraska. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-833-BET-OVER.
Fall is here, and so are cooler temps, darker evenings, and slick roads. Is your vehicle ready for the change in seasons? At A1 Automotive, we've got you covered. From tire checks, brake inspections, batteries, and heater systems, we make sure your car is road ready for the Nebraska winters ahead. Don't wait until the first frost. Schedule your fall car care checkup today and drive with confidence all season long. A1 Automotive, always honest answers.
Are you looking to upgrade or improve the garage door on your home? This is Cameron Hall of Doors Plus. At Doors Plus, we guarantee to offer a wide selection of options from 5 leading garage door manufacturers as we deliver a free estimate, exact measurements, and rapid installation with a 3 to 5 week time frame. When you choose Doors Plus for your residential garage door needs, you'll work with our experienced technicians and be ensured that your new door seamlessly complements your home. Give us a call at 402-590-5800 or visit us online at DoorsPlusLLC.com. Doors Plus, garage doors, and more.
Now back to the Law of Lift with Dr. Lawrence Chatters on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
It's the second hour of the Law of Lift. This time always goes by so fast. I know when I talk to my guests, they're always like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to talk for 2 hours. And then next thing you know, an hour's gone. And I have Mike Wortman in the studio with me today. And let me tell you, so far, I've just absolutely enjoyed hearing about his story and his journey, because there's just been so many serendipitous things that have happened over the course of his life. And, it's neat to hear not only about his own experience, but also the experience of his family and how that shifting dynamic and them moving around during his life also had an impact. And, the most recent move, of course, that we're talking about is when he went off to college, they moved from Minden to Lexington. And it sounded like, his dad was starting to build a motel there in Lexington. And so, he would go back home and, sometimes he'd go back to Minden, but Lexington was like the new home while he was in college. And he talked to us a little bit about his college experience. He talked about becoming a beta and how that changed his life. And also, through his fraternity, meeting a gentleman who was participating in the Nebraska Human Resource Institute and really brought him along into that space. And that's where he had the opportunity to become a mentor and mentor other people, and had an opportunity also to participate in a new program called HEP, where essentially, he was supporting people who were here in Nebraska on a program where they were from migrant families and families in the South. And for the first time, Mike interacting with some of these people who he got to know, who he had a lot of respect for, he saw them experiencing racism and experiencing some of those things. And this is the 60s. This is the mid 60s into the late 60s when Mike is here in Lincoln and having some of these experiences. And of course, one of the more consequential and important things that happened to him during college was meeting his wife through NHRI. And talked about, being married for 54 years, which is just absolutely amazing. And so now the most recent story he's told and things that happen in life, it's so interesting as you look back and you wonder just how serendipitous things are. He said, his brother's playing at St. Anne's, and very great basketball player. He comes back on the weekends to watch his brother play, and the priest from St. Anne's calls him and says, "Hey, I hear you're finishing up your degree and you might be looking for a teaching opportunity and potentially a coaching opportunity too, I would assume, right?" So tell us about where things go from there, Mike.
Sure. Well, I he said yes, we needed a math teacher, and I just finally said, "Well, I can come out this weekend and meet with you." So I did, and he had a couple of school board members with him when I met, and when I first talked, he was just talking about teaching math. That was it. And so when I met with him, he said, "Well, we've had another situation come up since we talked to you last." I said, "Oh, really? What's that?" "Well, we also need a head football coach."
Oh my goodness.
Well, that kind of changed my thought. I thought, "Oh, well, maybe I could do this for a year. Maybe I could, you know." So, yeah, I became a head football coach.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And so my summer was kind of getting planned and organized and doing all the things I needed to do.
Yeah.
I reached out to my old high school football coach from Minden, and I spent a afternoon with him, and he gave me all of his playbooks and plays and all that kind of stuff. And
you guys weren't in the same conference or anything, were you?
oh, no.
Okay.
This is a whole different.
All right.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So you become a math teacher and a football coach all
Yes.
in one conversation.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh my goodness. So tell us about those early years of, being a coach and a teacher, and, what was that like for you? Another transition, and then of course having to look out for your students, having to have a team, motivate these boys to come out and play football and all the rest of those things.
Sure,
What was
yeah.
that like for you?
Well, this was a very small school in that there were like 125 kids,
Mm-hmm.
712. I mean, there were like 25 seniors each year about, and we had about 24, 25 kids out for football.
Okay.
So that was this was class D, the smallest class.
Okay.
And the math, basically, there were textbooks for each of the courses I was going to teach. And I
Mhm.
taught algebra and advanced algebra and geometry in a class called senior math, which was kind of a combination of trig and other things. And I think I taught an 8th grade math class. So every class was unique. You had to, do a preparation for a different class every time.
Yeah.
And but I enjoyed the challenge of my wife was not my wife at that time. She was she graduated also as an educator, and she was teaching elementary school in one of the elementary schools in West Side District. And she came out to Lexington or wherever we were for every football game.
Oh, wow.
That fall
Okay.
season.
Okay.
And yeah, we went. We had I don't know what 9-10 games, most of them. So half home and half away kinds of things, and it was yeah, it was kind of fun. Because many of these, I mean, these were, Catholic families. So getting to know the families
Mhm.
was, and the athletic program was funded by a bingo program that the Booster Club
Oh, wow.
organized, So if I needed uniforms or something, I'd
Yeah.
have to talk to the head of the bingo. So it was just kind of a whole
Oh,
different thing that,
Right.
if you're talking about a Class A school in the state of Nebraska now, that you can't quite
Right.
get your head around what that's like.
Right. That's true. That's true.
So I was the head football coach, and there was another. And most of the teachers in the building were nuns, and the principal was a nun. There was another guy that he was a business teacher,
Mhm.
and he was the head basketball coach.
Okay.
And I was like his assistant for basketball.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he was my assistant for football. And that's kind of, we were the coaches.
I see.
And
wow.
So yeah, it was a good experience.
Wow. So how long do you stay at St. Anne's, and what was the kind of final position that you were in prior to leaving there, and what made you end up leaving St. Anne's and moving on to where you went next?
Well, I ended up staying 3 years.
Mhm.
And my brother was a sophomore, and then a junior, and then a senior, my 3 years that I was there. So
Okay.
him leaving, it was kind of like I ended up wanting to stay while he was still there.
Uh-huh.
And also during my third year, some people, the director of the NHRI
Mhm.
came to visit me.
Okay.
And the HEP program was still in existence, and they had a new director, but the assistant director, and they wanted me to come and be an assistant director for the HEP program.
I see.
So I thought about that, and by this time, my wife had gotten I just had her. She only drove out 1 year, and I felt like that was pushing the limit. I wasn't sure, so I asked her to get married, and I also then talked to the superintendent of the public schools to see if they had a teaching position. So she ended up teaching 2 years in, in Lexington.
Okay, in
So-
the public system. I see.
because the Catholic system was just 7 through 12. There was no
Okay.
elementary.
I see.
in that.
So there weren't many opportunities, I would assume.
No.
Yeah.
no.
Gotcha.
So anyhow, so we were there for 3 years, and then came to Lincoln to work for NHRI in the HEP program, and did that as the assistant director 1 year. Then the director left, and I became the director the next year.
Okay. Wow.
So during that time, during the summers, I was taking classes
Uh-huh.
at UNL to get a master's in educational administration.
I see. Okay.
And so, yeah.
So this is an interesting wrinkle. So what was it like to coach your brother?
Well, it was interesting. He was, first of all, he was he was on the JV basketball team.
Okay.
And I was the coach for that
Mhm.
his sophomore year.
Okay.
Then a junior, senior, he was on varsity. So I was still there as an assistant, but I wasn't, the head coach.
The head coach. Yeah.
Then in football, he started as a junior and senior, and sophomore he played some, but then junior, senior he started, and we got along fine. It was there were a couple times we had some conversations, just the two of us at a different point in time, away from just to kind of help clarify how we were doing. And I remember one time talking to him, I said, Paul, you kind of gotten cheated, because most guys growing up have a relationship with their older brother.
Yeah.
And they have a relationship with their coach.
Yeah.
And you got cheated out of one of them. I'm not sure which one you're getting cheated out of, but
Yes.
they overlap here for this, and maybe that's not fair to you. I
Right.
apologize.
Wow. Wow. That is such an interesting dynamic to coach your brother, And
Yeah.
so just thinking back on that, and then, so you leave, St. Anne's, and you come to Lincoln to work for NHRI, which again, another serendipitous pass back through a program that meant a lot to you and means a lot to you still to this day. And then you become the director. And so you get your master's in educational administration. And then what takes you back into the school system from the NHRI role?
Well, after I finished my master's, I was kind of thinking about becoming a principal.
Okay.
And so I was looking around at some schools that were available, and where the vacancies were, and that kind of thing. And NHRI some of the leaders in that group, Don Clifton and Bill Hall and some others, had spun off and had SRI, which was kind of a pre to what's Gallup now. But anyhow, they had an organization or something. And one of the guys that was kind of working with them came and talked to me about a position at a school called Valley.
Okay.
And he said there was a high school principalship there. And I said, yeah, oh, that sounds good. I'm kind of interested in looking. And I said, so who's going to be the superintendent? Because I knew that they had a vacancy for a principal and the superintendent.
Uh-huh.
And he said, well, I'm going to be the superintendent. And he just, and that kind of, okay. Because again, I was aware that the role of a principal is different depending on who the superintendent is.
Absolutely.
And if you have a good superintendent, and that kind of, so I said, okay, I'll apply for this, and anyhow, got it. And so I was in Valley, Nebraska for 5 years as high school principal.
Okay.
It was actually 7 through 12, junior high and senior high.
I see. So you were the principal of both. Okay.
Yes,
okay.
it was all in the same building there.
Okay. Was that Class D as well?
No, that was, well, it started Class C. It was Class B. The last year I was there, it was at Class B.
So it grew quite a bit.
Yeah. It
Okay.
grew some
Wow.
during that time. And we had a daughter in Lincoln.
Mhm.
Amy was born when we were in Lincoln when I was with the HEP program. And then when we moved to Omaha, then second daughter, Carrie, was born
Mhm.
in Omaha, which there. So we had 2 kids, and my wife was taking care of kids, and actually started a preschool program for a while we're there. Because during that time, she got a master's in early childhood education through UNO.
Okay.
And so that was kind of our life there for 5 years. And during that time, I had a university professor that started bugging me a little bit about continuing my education.
Yeah.
And so I started driving every summer and during the school year, even usually at least one night a week from Valley to Lincoln take graduate classes, and working on a doctorate. And so during that 5 years, was able to finish that. So
Excellent. So you finished your doctorate in 1980, is that right?
Right.
Okay. So I just did a quick look at your dissertation topic. Okay. So I hope I'm not
No,
shocking you here.
no,
but-
no.
So conceptually, it sounded like you were looking at the potential of applying the process by which teachers create IEPs for students with disabilities, and looking at possibly generalizing that to all students so that all students would have an IEP, right?
Yes.
That is so groundbreaking at that time, to be looking at an individual process for every student. And so that's really cool. I just looked at your dissertation really quick and I saw it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a really cool idea. And so, you finished this in 1980. And so now you're Dr. Mike Wortman. And of course, I think for superintendents, they were looking for people to be at that highest level of academic administration, educational administration, essentially. So you're in Valley. How long did you stay there again?
I was there
And
for
then
5 years.
5 years. And then where did you head to after Valley?
Well, then I got a call from my advisor, actually, and just saying he just wanted me to be aware there was a position for a high school principal in Hutchinson, Kansas.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
And I said, where's Hutchinson, Kansas? And
Right.
And he described it, it's kind of like the Grand Island of Kansas, in that it's a town of about 40,000.
Okay.
And it's kind of central west, and it's kind of a trade center for kind of Western Kansas a little bit. That's
Yeah.
kind of the largest town that, well, it was, 50 miles or so from Wichita. So anyhow, I just on a lark one Friday afternoon just drove down there
Yeah.
and introduced myself to the superintendent, and he got me over to the high school. I met the 2 assistant principals over there and walked around campus a little bit. And then I came back and drove around the town a little bit. And I came back and he said, so are you going to apply for this job? I said, yeah, I think I might. And so anyhow, came down and interviewed and got it. And
what year would that have been then?
1980.
1980. Okay, so that's right when you finish your PhD, and
yes.
then you head down to
Well,
Hutchinson.
see, technically, I hadn't finished the PhD at the time. In fact, I originally told my advisor, I think I'm going to stay in Valley one more year because I'll finish it. Well, the way it turned out, I got the job before I finished. So that summer, I moved to Kansas. And the month of July, after unloading the truck, I spent about every night writing.
The
You know how that-
dissertation. Yes, I know how that is. Yes.
I was writing. And then when school started, I took a couple trips to Lincoln to meet with committees and some of those things so that
Wow.
I could get it all finished enough to graduate in December of '80. So yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. And just thinking about that summer, so many things going on, moving your young family down to Kansas from Omaha, and just still having to finish up that degree. And so you get down there to Hutchinson, Kansas, and tell us a little bit about that high school, because this is the first high school. Well, of course, the one in Valley was a high school, but it was high school and middle.
Right.
But tell us about the size of that high school in Kansas.
When I went there, it was a 3-year high school, 10, 11, 12, but they'd already planned that the next year they were going to bring the freshmen in because they were going to change there were 3 junior highs, and they're going to make 2 and make them 7, 8, and then make 9, 12 at the high school. So anyhow, but we had about, I think originally when I first got there, about 1,200 students maybe. And then when we brought in the freshmen, it was up to 1,400 or 1,500 students, something like that.
Wow. So
Again, it was a little bit of a change.
I was going to say
from Valley, where I had about 400 students, to go all of a sudden with 1,400 students.
Right.
It was add another 1,000.
Yes.
And add another 60 teachers. It was a change.
That's a big change. And so it's just, as I sit here and reflect on your story, Mike, I kind of cannot help but going back to that one class, schoolhouse, and you being, one of a couple students and in your grade. And then here you are down in Hutchinson, Kansas with your young family, fresh off your doctorate, and taking on a 1,400 person high school. And so we'll talk more about that when we come back and talk more about just the inner workings of being a principal, and more from Mike Wortman on the Law of Lift with Dr. Lawrence Chatters right after this.
After a long, hot summer, are you ready for fall? What about your home? Is your heating system ready for cooler temperatures ahead? Call Bryant for your fall heating check. No matter what brand of equipment you own, Bryant's trained technicians will thoroughly clean and inspect your furnace or heat pump to make sure you stay warm, safe, and comfortable. Call today to schedule your home heating check. 467-1111. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. 467-1111. Bryant, whatever it takes.
Tired of asking what's for dinner? Nourished for Life has got you covered. At Nourished, they're a local meal prep company that delivers fresh, chef-crafted, healthy meals straight to your door. Made from wholesome ingredients and ready when you are. No shopping, no chopping. Just heat, eat, and enjoy every night of the week. Fuel your busy days with balanced meals that are designed to keep you satisfied and energized. Visit nourishedforlife.co to purchase meals and taste the convenience of home-cooked comfort without the hassle. It's game on at Elway Power Sports of Lincoln, Nebraska's premier power sports dealership. Get geared up for savings like you've never seen before during Elway Days. Their biggest sale of the year runs October 14th through the 18th, when every red tag machine is priced at invoice plus $300. That's it. No freight, no setup, no extra fees. Don't miss out on these epic savings. Elway Power Sports of Lincoln has you covered all under one roof, with a large selection of side-by-sides, ATVs, motorcycles, and personal watercraft at their 27th and I-80 location.
Imagine hitting rewind on your life 10, even 20 years. With testosterone therapy from Limitless Male, you can turn back the aging clock and get your edge, energy, and confidence back. If you've lost your drive, sleep deprived, muscle loss, belly fat, irritable, you're not the guy you once were. Get your T levels checked at Limitless Male. More and more men are realizing hormone replacement can turn back the clock. Schedule your free consult at limitlessmale.com.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. Did you know there's a place kids can seek out help when they're away from home and something goes wrong? they find themselves in a difficult spot or even a dangerous situation. Maybe another child is bullying them or a stranger is following them. Perhaps on a date and things just go bad. In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States. The People City Mission is sponsoring this program in our community and has set up a number of businesses, fire stations, schools, and nonprofits around the city to become safe locations where kids can seek out help. They just need to look for the big yellow sign that says Safe Place on it. Then go inside and ask for help. We will be quickly connected to them and ensure they make it back home or to whatever resources are needed. If you'd like to find out more about Safe Place and ways in which you can get involved, just go to pcmlincoln.org. Remember, when we all do a little, we change a lot.
Serve Nebraska believes that volunteers are part of what makes Nebraska great. Each year, the Step Forward Awards honors volunteers from across the state who serve their communities in outstanding ways. We hope you'll join us this year at the Step Forward Awards luncheon on October 27th in Omaha. Help us thank volunteers with a celebration to remember. To register, visit serve.nebraska.gov and click Register Now. We hope to see you there. Paid for by Serve Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
You never think cancer will happen to you. I smoked for over 40 years. My doctor recommended that I get annual lung cancer screening. They were able to catch my cancer at stage 1. It's never too late to quit. Even if you're still smoking, you need to ask your doctor about annual lung cancer screening. Just 30 minutes a year could save your life.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Husker fans know when you work together, great things happen. At Cornhusker Bank, they're more than your financial partner. With 5 locations in Lincoln and 1 in Omaha, they're your neighbors, your teammates, and your biggest fans. Whether you're saving for your first home, planning your future, or growing your business, they're right here in Nebraska to help you move forward together. Visit cornhusker.bank to learn more. Cornhusker Bank, member FDIC, doing life together.
Deciding on a college with your high school senior can be a little overwhelming for parents. But applying for money to pay for it is simple. FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, is now easier than ever with fewer questions and faster fill-out times. If you have a high school senior, now is the time to apply for thousands of dollars for classes, books, and housing. Get started, Nebraska, at dothefafsa.org. Sponsored by Education Quest Foundation. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Now back to the Law of Lift with Dr. Lawrence Chatters on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
That's right, Lincoln. We're back on the Law of Lift. You know, I'm just laughing to myself here because I'm just thinking about Mike Wortman's story, and I haven't actually heard him say he went looking for a job yet. I've only heard him say that jobs have come looking for him. And so, you know, what an interesting thing to happen in life where you're just doing your job and you're, you know, doing it well and opportunities come your way. And of course you have to be prepared for those opportunities and you have to continue to, you know, develop and keep your tools sharp so you can take on those opportunities. But, you know, you just kind of told us about moving to Hutchinson, Kansas to take on this high school, being a principal there. And this is what I've always known you as. I've always known you as a principal. That's what I heard. That's when I first started hearing your name as principal, you know, Dr. Mike Wortman. And, you know, to be honest with you, as much time as I've spent in the educational space, you know, PhD in educational psychology, all these things that I've done, been in the schools, worked in North Star High School, worked in Northeast High School here in Lincoln in different programs and everything else. I still don't really know exactly what a principal does and how they do it and what exactly it means to be a principal. I have a conceptual idea of what I think it means, right? To be the person who's really responsible for the school and all the things that happen at the school. So talk to us a little bit about what it was like to be a principal for so many years, because again, you started at Valley, then you went to Hutchinson and you were a principal from that point all the way through the rest of your career. So what exactly does it mean to be a principal? Tell my listeners about what being a principal means and what that responsibility is and how you did it for so many years.
Well, probably the biggest piece of being a building principal is communication. Communication, communication, communication. People, and it's not, communication doesn't mean just telling.
Mhm.
It's listening, it's sharing, it's being aware and helping other people be aware so things are transparent. And then with any job, but I think in education as much as anything else, it's all about relationships,
Yes.
connections with people. I remember when I went to Hutchinson, I had this little interview, kind of a set of questions, about 20 questions or so. And I met with, before school started that year, probably 20, 30 people, some of the department chairs and some of the other people. And I just had the secretary say, who are the people I need to talk to? Who do I need to know before school starts? And so she gave me some lists, and I talked to the assistant principals, and they gave me some more people, and I'd call them in, and I'd ask them 6 or 8 questions. Then I'd give them my question list. I say, which ones of these do you want to ask me? And so we had conversations,
Yeah.
listening interviews. And I remember at one of them, this one of the teachers, she said, so how are you going to handle, I mean, the school you came from before, you had 24 teachers or whatever you have, and you've got 80 here. How are you going to handle that difference? I said, well, just like I'm handling you right now. We're talking one-on-one.
Yeah.
If there's 80, that's different than if there's 20, but still you got to talk to people one-on-one. You got to have a relationship with them. And I think that's true. You still are taught, you got to have a relationship with people one-on-one. So a lot of it's the culture. You set up a culture in the school so that if I'm not the person they can talk to, there's somebody that they can talk to. Everybody, whether it's a student, whether it's a parent, whether it's a staff member, they need to have people they can talk and share their dreams and their goals with, and people that follow up and celebrate with them. And now, obviously, legally and school board procedure wise and state Department of Education wise, there's some things you have to do.
That's right.
Some procedures, some laws to follow, and some for certification, all those things. But you do all those things through people. And so you get the right people. I have all the schools I've been in. One of the big pieces is who we hire. And I've used the teacher perceiver as far as through Gallup. That's been a big piece of helping understand who people are before you hire them.
Yes.
So that's a big piece. And then providing good opportunities to communicate. One of the things, kind of a spin-off of my years with NHRI and the importance of relationships, in all 3 high schools, in Valley and in Hutchinson and at Lincoln High, different times we had different programs that had different names.
Yes.
But there was, in each of them, we established some kind of a program like a home room, or a place where a small group of kids would have a staff member who got to know them well and met with them on a regular basis, maybe through their whole career.
Oh, wow.
They're in the
Okay.
building. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
it was, and I mean, I still have some Lincoln High kids that were in my homeroom group that when I see them, they still smile, and we have a connection. So I think every kid needs to have a connection with somebody.
Yes.
Somebody that they knows them and that they can trust and all
Yes.
that. So I think you set up mechanisms to make, and it's different and unique in different schools and different states and in different, but it still comes down to people.
That's amazing. And, talking about the importance of communication and the importance of relationships and making sure that people in that space, whether it's a student or a teacher or a parent, has somebody that they can reach out to, and that person will be there for them and be able to answer questions. And what really occurs to me, Mike, is that all throughout your life, relationships have been incredibly important. And, I think back to you talking about those teachers that shaped your early life, your band teacher, your Mr. Armstrong as well, and some of the people who were coaches that really, pulled you aside and said, "Hey, have you thought about this opportunity? Hey, what do you think about this?" And just, gave you that sense of, "Hey, I can do this." The people who poured into you, and then going off to college, and just the serendipitous nature of joining an organization like NHRI, which of course is really foundational to a lot of the Gallup strengths work, and essentially teaching young people to work with their strengths and support other people through their strengths. And, it's just amazing to know that that was a major component in your being a principal, and recognizing how important it was for every student and teacher in that space to have somewhere where they could find a relationship and a connection, and then feel like they were a part of something bigger than themselves, which essentially is what the school culture is, right? It's, do you have an alignment with our school? Do you identify as a part of our school? And, that honestly kind of leads me back to thinking about some of your early work in HEP as well, right? Like having some of these people who are not from Nebraska here, and you all were tasked with trying to help them connect to the community, right? And so all of these pieces align. And then also your time in being in the Beta fraternity, and of course, the service component of that, bringing new members in and helping them understand, this is how we do service. This is, the brotherhood and the fraternity essentially, and everything. And having that as an identity throughout the process, and your desire to be a coach too. It sounds like that kind of consistently came back, even though maybe you weren't coaching a sport, you were coaching people still, right? So tell us about some of those significant things that happened during your principal years, because you would eventually leave Hutchinson, Kansas, and then you'd come back to Nebraska. Tell us about that, and then tell us about maybe some significant things that happened while you were a principal over the course of your career.
Well, going back, as an undergraduate, I student taught as a math teacher at Lincoln High. And then I worked with HEP, and then I taught, and was principal. But I kind of, over the years, had kept a little touch with some people from Lincoln Public Schools. And in fact, one of my assistant principals in Hutchinson, Kansas, he was an assistant principal there, came to Lincoln and was a principal at the alternative school, Bryan Center. And we kept in touch, and he kept telling me, "Mike, I think you ought to come to Lincoln. I think you'd like Lincoln." I said, "Greg, I grew up, I went to university. I student taught. I know, and I know some people in Lincoln. Yeah, you're right. I think I'd like Lincoln." Well, then when Lincoln High became available as a principal, I'd gotten calls a couple other times from people in Lincoln, and it was always, "Thank you, but I'm not leaving while I have a daughter still in high school."
I see. Okay.
I'm going to keep. I don't want to move my kids. So the final time when I got a call, and Greg had told me about Lincoln High, my daughter was a senior in high school, and I said, I might be able to take another look at it this year. This might be a little different kind of thing. And so I did, and applied, and got interviewed, and got the job in 1995 as principal at Lincoln High, and was there for 20 years. And that was probably, in a whole lot of ways, the biggest pieces of my administrative career was 20 years at Lincoln High. It was an amazing experience.
Wow. And, I just think about the historical context here. So like 1995, and we're like, pre-internet at that time still. I mean, it's slowly coming online, but you start here in 95. I mean, you're back in Lincoln. The Huskers had won another national championship that year, right? Which by the way, I think about that year that you graduated from college, right around 1970, and you go to St. Anne's and you're coaching football, and the Huskers had won a national championship then too, right? So
interestingly enough, now that you mentioned that,
yes,
we had a combined athletic celebration that after at the end of the football seasons in Lexington for the 2 high schools, and the guest speaker was Bob Devaney.
Oh my goodness.
He came and he spoke to us. So
oh my goodness. So the championship coach comes and speaks. Wow. That's awesome. So again, and just the way that history plays in these stories and everything else. So from 95 through 2015, you're at Lincoln High, and tell us about, some of the significant things that happened during your time at Lincoln High and some of the things that really challenged you as a principal.
Well, first of all, it was a 3-year high school when I got there.
Okay.
And within a couple of years, well, maybe about 5 years later, I think it was the freshmen, then they made all the middle schools 6th, 7th, and 8th, and all the high schools 9, 10, 11, 12. So we added freshmen, and it was a little bit of a it's a culture thing. I mean, shift to add 9th graders. I'd done it before in Hutchinson 15 years before, brought it in, but it was still. And interestingly enough, my old high school football coach, Larry Roth, who'd been a middle school principal in North Platte, and then he opened a middle school in Millard. I contacted him, and he came out and did a couple staff development things for the Lincoln High staff to talk about what it's like to teach freshmen, because they're kind of a little bit of a different, when you've never taught them before,
right?
That's a little different. So he came. So again, I circle around past connections and all that. So, but no, so bringing freshmen in was one of the things. Part of it was then in 2002 and 3, 2 new high schools opened up, and when the 2 new high schools opened up, we got freshmen, but we lost some of the, we became more of a inner city school, as far as our boundaries changed.
I
And
see.
it was-
Boundaries. Okay.
So it was more, and the diversity. When I came to Lincoln High, I think we were about 75% white.
Mhm.
When I left Lincoln High, we were about 47% white. And that was for a variety of reasons. Part of it was 2 new high schools opened up on the edges of town, and that kind of changed the dynamics a little bit.
Yes.
But also Lincoln became more and more of a refugee settlement area.
Yes.
And it added to the culture. And I mean, Lincoln High is a place we celebrated that diversity and the culture and the different clubs we had there for the different groups. And it was very cool. I liked it a lot.
That's amazing. And so when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about your service and all the service that you do, because you do a lot of service through a number of different organizations, but it's truly been a joy to be talking to you. You're listening to The Law of Lift with Dr. Lawrence Chatters on 93.7 The Ticket. We'll be right back after this.
Nebraska farmers, harvest is here and every gallon counts. That's why Sapp Brothers Petroleum launched the Go Big Red Fuel Giveaway. When you contract your fuel with Sapp Brothers, enter to win $1,000 in fuel credits. As Husker Country knows, the only thing stronger than the roar at Memorial Stadium is the drive of a farmer putting food on the table. Fuel your farm with Sapp Brothers Petroleum and enter to win $1,000 in fuel credits. Visit sappbros.net today. Sapp Brothers Petroleum, fueling the heartland. Go Big Red.
If the power is out, traffic lights might be too. If you come across a dark intersection, treat it like a 4-way stop. See more tips at les.com/safety.
This is former Husker and NFL linebacker Jay Foreman. For years, I've suffered from degenerative problems in both of my ankles, but thanks to a thorough and thought-out plan provided by Advanced Medical Imaging, I was able to get my life back with the least amount of pain as possible. While working through multiple options, the team of physicians at Advanced Medical Imaging were there to answer any questions I had. If you're experiencing any pain at all and want to get your life back, go to amimaging.com or give them a call at 402-484-6677. Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard.
This is Bill Mitchner, Executive Director of Lincoln Lighthouse. Did you know Lighthouse provides multiple programs for students such as one-on-one tutoring and mentoring, as well as pro-social skill exercises, while providing them a nourishing meal and a safe space during all months of the year, even during school breaks? Learn more or contribute to Lighthouse at lincolnlighthouse.org today.
This fall, Baumgars has everything you need to get your farm ready for the season. Stock up on livestock feed, deer corn, and pine shavings to keep your animals fed and your farm running smoothly. Need tools for your fall projects? Grab DeWalt power tools and grass seed to keep your fields in top shape before winter. From your barn to your backyard, Baumgars has you covered. Get ready for the season with everything you need to finish those fall fix-ups. Baumgars, field, farm, and fall fix-ups.
Are you looking to upgrade your equipment and keep cash in your pocket? Through October at Landmark Implement, get up to a 24-month waiver on select John Deere tractors and combines, or lock in a 2.9% fixed rate for 36 months, followed by a qualified standard rate for another 36 months. Whether you're thinking of this year's harvest or planning ahead, we've got a solution that works for your bottom line. Visit your local Landmark Implement for more details, or check us out at landmarkimp.com and experience the Landmark difference.
Schaefer's is celebrating its 79th anniversary with special rebates, financing, savings, and free delivery store-wide.
Update your home with innovative Samsung appliances and save up to an additional $900 with rebates. Samsung Innovation saves you energy and time with easy-to-connect appliance technology. Plus, during Schaefer's anniversary, get free delivery on your appliance purchase.
So hurry in during Schaefer's 79th anniversary event, going on now.
This is your year, where your team takes it all the way. Win way more than bragging rights at Warhorse Casino, where your love of the game could put $1 million in your pocket. The Pro Football Frenzy is free to play with prizes all season long. Weekly cash prizes up to $1,000 cash, season-long leaderboards, and a chance to win $1 million. Only at Warhorse Casino. Wagers may only be placed on Nebraska-based teams when played outside the state of Nebraska. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-833-BET-OVER.
Fall is here, and so are cooler temps, darker evenings, and slick roads. Is your vehicle ready for the change in seasons? At A1 Automotive, we've got you covered. From tire checks, brake inspections, batteries, and heater systems, we make sure your car is road ready for the Nebraska winters ahead. Don't wait until the first frost. Schedule your fall car care checkup today and drive with confidence all season long. A1 Automotive, always honest answers.
Are you looking to upgrade or improve the garage door on your home? This is Cameron Hall of Doors Plus. At Doors Plus, we guarantee to offer a wide selection of options from 5 leading garage door manufacturers as we deliver a free estimate, exact measurements, and rapid installation with a 3 to 5 week time frame. When you choose Doors Plus for your residential garage door needs, you'll work with our experienced technicians and be ensured that your new door seamlessly complements your home. Give us a call at 402-590-5800 or visit us online at DoorsPlusLLC.com. Doors Plus, garage doors, and more.
Now back to the Law of Lift with Dr. Lawrence Chatters on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Lincoln, Nebraska, we're back. I'm here with Mike Wortman, longtime principal of Lincoln High School right here in town. You know, one thing, Mike, I did not tell you is that as I run into Lincoln High links around this city, and all of them are right around my age. So like, you know, born in like the early 80s would have been there during your time there. I have not really run into any other people from other high schools that have as much pride as they have in being links. And so clearly you and your teachers and the people who, you know, cared at that school during the time that some of my friends were there really did a great job, because they have a significant sense of identity and a positive sense of identity from being at Lincoln High. And these are some really amazing people too. And so that's really cool. You know, anytime I say something about Lincoln High, people are like, Lincoln High links, you know, it's like, okay, all right. You know, clearly there was some kind of culture there that made people proud of what that was. And so that's one thing I wanted to mention to you. But, you know, you have given us a lot of great insight today on your journey and some of the things that happened over the course of your life, and just the importance of relationships and the importance of just, communication and mentorship over the course of your life, and service. And I think service has really been something that has anchored you throughout your journey. I'm sure you've served on numerous boards and done a lot of things. But now there's a few different opportunities, I think, that really keep you busy in retirement. And can you tell us a little bit about those opportunities and how the service has had an impact on your life?
Sure. I guess now that you mention that, I think I have to go back and talk about my mother just for a second.
Yeah.
My dad died, so she lived another 29, 30 years on her own in Lexington, and she was involved in everything in Lexington. She was, she worked for the voter registration. She helped donate blood centers, and she helped when they swore in new citizens, and she helped organize the reception for them. I mean, anything in Lexington, she did. So she was a role model for our family in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
My two brothers who graduated, one of them I was a teacher for, and one of them who graduated. They both have been on the school boards in Elkhorn, and one still is, and one was earlier.
Okay.
I have a sister who is an elementary teacher for many, many years. So I think it comes part of an expectation for our family that we do community service. That's just
excellent.
kind of who we are, because that's the way we were raised.
Yes.
That's our mom was a good definition of that. So, but I think, yes, as far as just, my brother had this conversation with a number of years ago. He said, I kind of get to thinking, I've got a lot of knowledge and a lot of life experiences. How do I share that with people? I don't want to just stop, because I feel like somebody could benefit from this. How do I do that? And I kind of have that same kind of thing,
Yeah.
After I retired, I worked with Doan for a while, helping teaching some classes
Yeah.
for school administrators, to help get their, and I observed math student teachers for Doan. So
Oh,
again,
wow.
it was kind of a way to help,
Yes.
some of the life experience I had. I could do some things like that. I have two daughters I'm pretty proud of. One of them is an elementary teacher. This is her 30th year in the same building in elementary in
Wow.
Kansas City, Missouri. And
Oh
she's,
my goodness.
and my other daughter lives in Lawrence, Kansas, and she's a lawyer. She was a clerk for one of the Supreme Court judges in Kansas. And she they have two kids each.
Yes.
And so I feel like part of my mentoring is doing stuff for my grandkids.
Yes.
4 grandkids. And I've taken each of them one at a time to Washington, D.C. for 3 days. And we've toured and done all sorts of things. And that whole family, a couple of years ago, we spent 10 days going to Tanzania.
Oh my
So
goodness.
I feel like, part of my passion is to be sure that I'm providing all the life experiences I can for my kids and grandkids. So,
Yes, that's
but
awesome.
like you said, Rotary is another piece. We do a lot of stuff in Rotary, and it's again, how do you provide community service? And so there's lots of different ways that it looks in life, and I think just try to make the world a better place. How do we do that?
Yeah, that's amazing. It's so great to hear about your story and your journey. And I really appreciate you bringing your mom into the picture as a role model of yours, and somebody who really did so much back in the Lexington community. And, it's interesting, the connection of welcoming new citizens and helping support them and incorporate them into the community. I just was hearing the other day about Lincoln becoming a welcome city, and the fact that this is a great place for people who are, here in the United States for the first time. It's a great relocation place for people, and how much better it feels when people welcome you when you get to somewhere new. And as I think about the transitions that you made over the course of your career, going to new school districts, coming back to Lincoln after being here for a while, that concept of being welcoming is so important, and creating an environment, a culture in the schools that you were a leader of, that was welcoming. And you talking about the cultural shift of Lincoln High, that was so interesting because, when I was in high school, I used to, we came to Lincoln for debate, and I remember going to Lincoln High, and, it was becoming more diverse at the time, but it was just interesting, that shift. And I didn't really think about, because at the time in 1990, when I was in high school, it was like 94 to 98. But there was a great debate program at Lincoln High during that time frame. And so we would come here for competitions, and then to know about those new high schools opening up, and I'm assuming that would have been North Star and Southwest that opened, that then caused kind of some additional transition of people out of the middle of the city. But I know you all had a great academic program at Lincoln High. And it was just a great place. And so, to know that you were a part of and really creating that culture, and a welcoming culture, even when the school continued to diversify and you welcomed more people into the space, and some of the challenges that come with that of just supporting families who are here for the first time and having to navigate systems and all the rest of the things. It's great to know that you did that intentionally, and you tried to do your best and provide a great culture for the people who are here, your students, your teachers, your families, and everyone. And then just tell us a little bit about what you do for Beta now, because that's another piece that's kind of re-entered the story, and you've been there for a while still supporting them.
Sure. Yes, I had a great experience as an undergraduate, and in the people I met through Beta Theta Pi, and had a big impact on me. So anyhow, when I came back to Lincoln in 95, our chapter had gone through some kind of tough times in the middle 90s, and I was asked to start if I'd be considered being the chapter advisor, and I did, and I've done that now for getting close to 30 years now. It's kind of hard to get my head around that, but during the time I've gotten to know a lot of betas all over the country, which is kind of, and Canada, which is kind of, adds a whole nother piece to it, to realize that it's a whole lot more than just 1515 R Street.
Yeah.
It's nationwide, all over North America. But working with young men, 18 to 22-year-olds, and helping them develop their leadership, become men of principle. And I think, our country today needs lots of good leaders.
Absolutely.
We really need lots of good leaders. And I think the more opportunities people have, and I tell them, my goal is not to run the best Beta chapter at 1515 R Street. I had my opportunity as an undergraduate. Now I just want to help you run.
Yes.
And you learn how to do that. And I'm just a support system. I'm here just to ask you some questions. Hey, have you thought about this kind of thing? And what do you do to help? And we've been very, very fortunate to have really good guys in the house, and I enjoy getting to know and work with them. So thank you.
Well, Mike, it's been a pleasure to have you on today. Really great to hear your story, and I appreciate you being on the Law of Lift. And ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've learned a lot from Mike's story today. Very successful in what he's done over the course of his life, and lifted a lot of people up. And I hope if you're struggling through something, that you lift off as well. You've been listening to the Law of Lift with Dr. Lawrence Chatters on 93.7 The Ticket.